Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you a Goosebumps TV show episode review from the classic 90s show that we all know and love. And that episode is Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. As you see here, I have the Fox Selections version of the DVD. I just recently got this. It is kind of rare. Most of the time, when you see the DVDs, they'll be in normal shell cases. However, these would have been distributed in places like Dollar General and Five Below, and places that have limited space to sell DVDs. That's where you would have found something like this. And I added it to my collection just because I wanted it, and it has Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, Vampire Breath, and Let's Get Invisible on the disc. So if you're wondering what this is, that's what it is. So let's get into the episode. So this episode came out in season 2, which arguably, to me, I think season 2 is the best season in the whole show. I think some of my favorite episodes of all time, collectively, came out in season 2. They do have some of my least favorites as well. But, yeah, Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns is a very memorable episode. I believe this one was done by William Fruitt. He's done many episodes that I love throughout the show. This one came out in October of 1996, surprisingly the same month and same year as the actual book did. So this is one of the few instances in the TV show's life where the episode and the book came out in the same month. So this show was definitely made before the book was released. And yeah, this is definitely one of those episodes that follow the trend of the episode has some inherent differences from the book. I would say that given that this episode is one of the 21-minute episodes, and it trims down some stuff par usual, like most episodes in the TV show do, I think this episode just kind of hit the nail on the head with the story, and it kind of trimmed some fat. And it was pretty enjoyable. I love the effects and everything, as I'll get into later in the review. But yeah, overall, I think this is a solid episode. So let's get into the plot overview without giving too much away. So, in this version of Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, Drew and her friend Walker are walking around the street talking about Halloween coming up. And Drew explains to Walker about why she doesn't like these two kids, Tabby and Lee. They're just mean kids, and a couple years ago, they pulled this prank on her, and she's been vowing for revenge, and, Walker seems to understand the whole situation. And then it come to find out that these two friends that, were there are coming to visit Drew this Halloween to kind of maybe help her. And those two kids are Shane and Shauna. And then out of the blue, Shane and Shauna show up and introduce themselves to Walker. And in this version of the story, Walker has never met Shane and Shauna before, as in the book, they already knew each other. But as they're talking, they interact with Tabby and Lee. And Tabby and Lee basically scare them, and they say, "You're too easy to scare. This is why we do it, just being mean kids." And then, as they leave, Shane and Shauna bring up the idea like, "Oh, we had this idea to get back at them. This is all you have to do is convince Tabby and Lee to go trick-or-treating with you guys on Halloween, and we'll take care of the rest." So Drew and Walker agree to that. It then cuts to Drew calling Tabby and Lee to confirm with them, "Hey, you should go trick-or-treating with us this Halloween." And Tabby reluctantly agrees because they figure, why not? They got nothing else better to do. Then it cuts to Drew having a nightmare kind of similar to the book, where Drew, Walker, Tabby, and Lee are trying to go trick-or-treating at this house, and this old woman answers the door and invites them in to go show her husband upstairs their costumes, because their costumes look great. And when they get upstairs, they realize that Shane and Shauna are being held captive in there. And this old guy says, "You must show me your costumes forever," like the book. This is one of those scenes that basically are copy and pasted from the book. And then Drew wakes up from the nightmare and, says, "Oh, that was a bad dream. I hope this really doesn't happen, you know. And then it cuts to Halloween night, where Drew has made her costume, and then Walker comes over. There's a really funny scene, by the way, with Walker. He's like, I'm a dark and stormy night, and Drew's dad is like, it's like, but where's the storm? And he pulls out a water gun. I've always got a kick out of that scene. Yeah, it'll make you laugh. But then Drew and Walker leave to go meet up with Tabby and Lee. And when they meet Tabby and Lee, par usual to the book, this is also another copy and pasted scene. The jack-o'-lanterns show up, and these jack-o'-lanterns look really good. I mean, props to the practical effects people that worked on the Goosebumps show. These jack-o'-lanterns are iconic looking. I mean, no wonder Trick or Treat Studios made masks of these things. That they look excellent, right? So these jack-o'-lanterns, like the book, they say, well, follow us, we'll take you to a neighborhood, better candy, better houses. So they follow them down the path to the neighborhood, and then lo and behold, it is a better neighborhood, and they start trick-or-treating, and they're getting hordes of candy. I mean, the way they show it in the episode is hilarious. And then, like the book, the kids start getting tired, they want to go home, but the jack-o'-lanterns say, you can't leave, you got to stay forever. And the kids are like, but my bag is full. And they're like, well, dump your bag and go back trick-or-treating and stuff like that. I mean, the comedy in this, I think, is more prevalent than the book inherently, I would say. And basically like the book, but a little bit differently. There's a big reveal about these jack-o'-lanterns, and you know, the whole neighborhood is jack-o'-lanterns or something like that. And Tabby and Lee get scared, and you know, by the jack-o'-lanterns that have been telling them to trick-or-treat forever, and they run away, and you know, Drew and Walker are scared because they don't know who these jack-o'-lanterns are. And then, of course, plot twists and the big revelation of who these jack-o'-lanterns are happens, and what the motives were and why they did it. And Drew and Walker are thankful for whoever was behind being the jack-o'-lanterns. And then plot twist. It's one of those double twists that Goosebumps has to offer sometimes. Like the book, there's a string of disappearances of overweight people, and that's kind of is kind of making people nervous to go out trick-or-treating on Halloween. But if people are trick-or-treating in groups, it feels more safe. And Drew kind of pieces together what had happened to those people, like the book, except in this version, there's a whole scene at the end, kind of adding on to the scene in the book of just the dumbfounded nature that the characters have when they realize what it really was going on, and that's where the episode ends. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, that is the Attack of the Jack-o'-Lanterns episode. The strengths in this episode, I think, you know, comes down to the setting and the vibe and the atmosphere. I think William Fruitt really nailed this, just like he nailed Haunted Mask 2. I'm pretty sure Attack of the Jack-o'-Lanterns is filmed in the same like streets that the Haunted Mask and Haunted Mask 2 episodes are. They just look identical almost. I wouldn't be shocked if they were the same, honestly. But I really have to applaud the setting choice for these Halloween episodes, specifically Attack of the Jack-o'-Lantern, since it captures that Halloween atmosphere, I think, the best out of all of the books. It feels like Halloween night. It feels like a neighborhood you would go trick-or-treating in. The houses look decorated very well. The people that answer the door are always dressed in street clothes. They're never dressed in costumes. That's so true and so realistic. It just feels like a timestamp almost, like to people's childhood, especially if you grew up trick-or-treating back when people actually trick-or-treated. You know, it takes me back to those memories of me being a kid and going trick-or-treating and having fun and getting candy. It does what it's supposed to do. The actors, I don't think are the most spectacular actors, but they do their job pretty well. The actress who plays Drew also had another role in another episode. I think she was in Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. She was a pretty good, starring actor for the episode. I have really no complaints about the acting in this. I mean, they're child actors. There have been some, questionable acting jobs from child actors in this show, but I don't think you'll find it in this episode. I think it all works pretty well. The costumes look just like what I would imagine in the book. They're basically shot for shot of what they wore in the book, minus a few things. I know Drew had the same costume. Just overall, great cinematography for the show. Great practical effects with the jack-o'-lanterns. Great setting. It had a good mood going for it. It was very spooky and eerie. Also, the changes they made to the plot kind of added to the ending in a way, and I really enjoyed that as well. And just overall very memorable, I would say. But I do have some slight negatives with it. Part of the negatives I have, kind of inversely to what I thought about the book kind of gave some exposition and flashbacks of why Drew hates these, two kids, Lee and Tabby. The episode just trims it completely out, which I don't think is the right move here. I already know this episode's already condensed down to 21 minutes, but I think this episode probably needed at least, 2 or 3 minute, summary cap of exposition. Not too much, maybe like 2 minutes of it. But I genuinely feel it needs. I feel like it just throws you into the story without knowing the whole story. And I genuinely think if you have never read the book and you watch the episode first, I think you'll be lost. You're like, I mean, really? Like, why is this girl, like, going to this length to do this to Tabby and Lee? They just feel like, maybe they just do pranks on them. Like, why do they have to feel like they have to do this whole spectacle on Halloween for these kids? I feel like the episode needed that a little, in a couple of ways, but not too much. Just like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And also, I guess another little tiny negative I have with this is, with Walker, right? Walker seems kind of a doofus in the episode compared to the book. Walker, seemed more normal, more natural in the book, as in the episode he comes off kind of like, I don't know what's going on, I'm just here. Walker he's not as enjoyable as the book, I would say. And that's a mild negative, and Walker's kind of like one of the frontliners of this episode. I don't think it's the acting that's the issue. I think it's just the way the character is written there. So from a 0 to 5 stars, I think those problems added up for me. Collectively, I would deduct 0.6 off, and I gave the episode a 4.4 out of 5. And I think it's pretty deserved here. I think it's a B+, almost teetering on an A tier episode. It's definitely a classic one. It's definitely a memorable one. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. But it's high enough for me to put it this high and give it a 4.4 out of 5. I genuinely feel like it's deserved there. So yeah, that is Attack of the Jack-O'-Lanterns TV episode. Let me know in the comment section if you have seen this episode before. Did you love it or did you hate it? I'm dying to know, and I'll see you next time.